Hey, guess what, kids? Gen Pack 2 is finally here, and it only took me 18 tries to get that right. Hey there, kids, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank. I'm that you are having a great day, and in today's video, I wanted to sit back, relax, and share a story with all of you that I thought I covered on the channel already, but I went back and looked through some of the videos, realized that I'm very poor at naming video titles, so if I already covered this story and the topic we're covering in today's video, feel free to leave a down vote, a thumbs down, a Reddit down vote, whatever YouTube is calling their useless feature that nobody can see anymore. You see, once upon a time when I was a wee lad, and yes, I know it's hard to believe, but once upon a time I was a beardless boy. My mom took me with her to what I think was Walmart at the time. And at Walmart, they were selling these Yu-Gi-Oh! Tins. And I, at the time, was super into Yu-Gi-Oh! So, of course, I begged and screamed and squealed until my mom caved in and gave my spoiled self one of the tins. I didn't really care what was in it. So when I got home and I got to open up those tins and look at the beautiful packs inside, the first thing I noticed was that the tins came with a card, a promo card. And the one I got was Total Defense Shogun. And reading over that card, it had a really curious effect to little old me. And the effect was that it allowed Total Defense Shogun to attack while it was in defense mode. Now, for those of you in the audience who don't know what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game, monsters typically cannot attack while they're in defense mode. In fact, that was in the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh! One of the best ways to safeguard your life points was to have a big beefy monster in defense mode. It couldn't attack, sure, but if its defense points were high enough, your life points were effectively safe from your opponent's Dark Magician or Summoned Skull or Blue Eyes White Dragon, assuming you could get the defense points high enough. I like this. Doing a lot of squeaking today. So yeah, the concept of a monster that could attack while in defense mode, that was insane to me at the time, because in the rules as written, that didn't really happen. You couldn't do that. You could not attack with a monster in defense mode. So my brain was exploding with possibilities like, we have a card that breaks the rules. I was astounded. Yeah, really squeaky today. Don't know why. Wonder if I got all those out of me. Maybe. So, when you take a player who is not entirely familiar with the rules of the game, because, I was a kid back then, I didn't really know all the rules to Yu-Gi-Oh! But you give them a handful of rules, and then you show them a card that breaks one of those rules over its knee, you really instill a sense of wonder in that kid, because let me tell you, I was absolutely blown away by Total Defense Shogun. A card, a monster that could attack in defense mode, blew me away. And it blew me away not for really how useful it was, how powerful it was, because Total Defense Shogun is not really a powerful card, but it blew me away because it's a really interesting example of a card that goes out of its way to kind of bend or even break established rules for a card game. And by that I mean, it's a card that does something that other cards in the game can't really do explicitly in the rules, which is really fascinating to me. And when I'm going through various card games, whether it's existing card games like Flesh and Blood or Pokemon or whatever have you, or dead card games like Hecatomb or Mega Man, one of the things I really like to find and search for is if I see a card that goes out of its way to break an existing rule or to do something that other cards just kind of can't do, mechanically unique cards, so to speak, I get really impressed by them, because to me, a card that kind of violates the rules to do something kind of cool is a great expression of the game designer's, maybe not flexibility, but ingenuity, designing a card in such a way. Now, I understand that Total Defense Shogun in and of itself is not particularly special, just an extra line of text that says it can attack in defense mode. That's not particularly crazy, but there's some other examples throughout gaming that have impressed me, either as a kid or even today. In Pokemon, for instance, in the fossil set, part of what made me fall in love with the Kabuto evolutionary line is that in the fossil set, those are not Pokemon. Not the first stage, the mysterious fossil. It's not a Pokemon. It's a trainer, a support card, whatever. It doesn't have a lot of health. It can't do anything. It can't fight. But you play it like a Pokemon, and that was crazy to me. The ability to play a not Pokemon as a Pokemon, it blew my mind. And when I'm going through Flesh and Blood and I'm looking through Flesh and Blood sets, Ghostly Touch, it's an illusionist arm piece. It's a piece of equipment that can turn itself into an ally. I think that's pretty cool. The Parry Blade from Heavy Hitters? Heavy Hitters, I think it's from where it's from. It's one of the common or rare pieces of equipment, sorry. It's a weapon, and in Flesh and Blood, weapons don't typically have a block value, but the Parry Blade does, and I think that's really cool. So I like it when cards, specifically, bend or even break the rules completely just to do one or two really cool one-off abilities. And I think seeing game designers flex their creative muscles like that is really cool. And I don't necessarily want there to be dozens and dozens of examples of this happening from throughout card games, because if you break the rules enough, it stops being a rule, obviously. You know, if every Flesh and Blood set had a piece of equipment that could both attack and defend, I understand that there's not really a rule against that, but it ceases to be special. There we go. It stops being a special thing. You know, if every monster in Yu-Gi-Oh, for instance, could attack while in defense mode not being able to attack wouldn't really be an impressive rule anymore, right? It wouldn't really be a foundational rule of the card game. If there was a bunch of supporter cards that could be treated as Pokemon, then that wouldn't feel as special either. So what I'm trying to get at is I like when creativity is being flexed, but not when it's being pushed. And Magic, for instance, is really good at pushing creativity to a point where it stops feeling special, it stops feeling interesting. Planeswalker designs, for instance, are a really good example of things that should have stayed rarer than they were. And we shouldn't have gotten, in my opinion, so many of them. The Planeswalker core design as a card type is something that Wizards has experimented with, toyed around with, expanded upon, and even gimmicked up, so to speak, throughout the years. There's Planeswalkers that can effectively serve as creatures for your turn, like Gideon and Sarkhan. There's Planeswalkers that are more or less just basic extra enchantments on the board. There's Planeswalkers that serve as win conditions on their own. The one War of the Spark Jace comes to mind. And yeah, one or two special Planeswalkers that do something crazy and unique. That's kind of cool. When we get a tidal wave of Planeswalkers doing crazy things, then it's kind of not great in terms of specialness, in terms of creative uniqueness, so to say. And there's a lot of examples of this throughout Magic's history. Some things that they have not done, like Glacial Worm. They have not done another card like Glacial Worm, to my knowledge. Glacial Worm is a card that allows you to play it right out of the deck if you are currently searching through your deck while it's in it. That's a really unique effect because typically in the rules of Magic the Gathering, you can't cast cards from within your deck beyond like the top card. There's a lot of effects that let you cast the top card of your deck, but there's not a lot of cards out there besides Glacial Worm itself that let you cast things from within the deck. Glacial Worm's kind of a special card. I think it's kind of neat. I think it's kind of a rules nightmare because of how it interacts with the stack. But I also think that if there were a bunch of cards like Glacial Worm, it would stop being so special and would just kind of seem annoying, if that makes any sense whatsoever. What I'm trying to get at here in this little ramble rant video is I like it when there's a handful of examples of cards that really violate the rules of the card game they exist in, because that shows that even within a rigid structure like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon or Magic or Flesh and Blood rule set, there's still examples of cards that can really, really toy with your expectations. And I think that's really neat because it really helps instill that sense of wonder in your players, making them go, I wonder what else we could see in the future, which is always a great sensation to experience. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed this little video as I sit down and sort of reminisce and sort of ramble about the past and potential futures. Leave a like if you enjoyed this content. Please share, subscribe, and comment down below, and I'll see you kids in the next one. Thanks for watching.